Brilliant. Good morning and welcome to the third INTEA e-breakfast. The first two ones were local events hosted by us in Latvia, and this is the first e-breakfast we host in English.
Yep. This is a great example of the opportunity that the situation brings. We used to have those breakfasts like in physical space, very local. So we kept them in Latvia. Now we have a chance to invite more people from more countries. I think we have about some 5-6 countries at least represented here among us.
Yeah, definitely. I see people from at least all of the Baltic states and some of the Scandinavian. So yeah, welcome everyone.
Today we're going to talk about something that, well, it's the usual story, right? We come up with an idea for a breakfast or for a lecture, and then we keep finding this proof that this idea is valid everywhere. So yesterday I was having a conversation with a large corporation, and they asked me, like, okay, we are transitioning all our face-to-face training to online environments, and what do we do with the top management? Because top management have terrible discipline. They are never engaged. They the only way to train them is to actually take them to a resort for a week and train them there, because they cannot escape.
Yeah, take away their phones.
Yes, take away. The retreat should be somewhere, where there is no coverage at least. So what do we do? And all I could say is that, well, this is just the highlight of a wider problem that you might have. Have you explained to them why they need the training? Is the training designed to actually address their problems? Is the training too expensive for them in terms of work disruption and time away from office and so on? Have you asked yourself these questions, or do you just think, okay, this is a great training, they definitely need it because we know they need it, and then you're just trying to force this training on them? And this is a very popular situation where people, I keep admitting people in there. So hi everyone who's joined. So this is a very popular situation when we learning people would just know what's right for the learners, and then we suffer from them somehow not sharing that idea with us, right? So today we will try to start thinking like marketers, like people who never think that they are right. They're always looking for answers. They are always trying to make people think in certain ways, change their behaviors. Like, there's a lot of similarities between learning and marketing. We influence people by bringing new ideas to them, but we don't often think like marketers in our daily life. So what I've done for this lecture, I've literally stolen a page from a marketer's book, and I wanted to highlight, because we both graduated from a business school, right? We're not, from a field of psychology or human science or anything like that. We were trained in marketing, among other things. So we dug up our old textbooks and we stole a few pages from there, right?
So let's share.
Yeah, let's share that. We will now try and literally share the screen. Okay, and where is my keynote? Right. Okay. So let us know if you can actually
just wave if you see that the presentation. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. What are you trying to do?
Trying to hide.
No, like,
okay.
It's all right. They only can see the presentation. They can't see themselves, hopefully. All right. By the way, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to type them along in chat. You can type a plus right now in chat if you have found it. And we will try and make this as interactive as possible. And we will try to...
we'll stop and answer questions on the go, and do more.
We're not the kind of people who have this Q&A slide at the end, because typically all the useful questions are forgotten by that moment. So all right, so let's begin. And I wanted to begin with this picture. if we were on a pretend TV show, I would say, Raivis, do you know what's happening in this picture?
Actually, I do.
Yeah, he does. He actually found the picture. So, do you know what's happening in this picture?
Yeah, just typing in chat.
Yeah, let me bring
if you know, yeah, if you know.
Chat. All right.
So, waiting for a new iPhone. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes. So people are queuing up, as you know, in like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning to be the first in line when the sales open for a new iPhone. It happens pretty much everywhere, pretty much every time, which is amazing. It doesn't happen for, I don't think, any other product. I don't think I've seen people to line up for, jeans or trousers or Teslas or pretty much anything. So this is a unique situation. My question is, how often do you have this kind of stir up before you release an e-learning course to your audience? Like, do you have people lining up in front of I don't know, maybe their computers, hitting refresh button, trying to get in first and finally see that amazing course that you've been preparing for them over the last couple of months? Well, doesn't happen. Right?
Doesn't happen, yeah, often. Doesn't happen often.
Yeah, well, sometimes we've had those cases where we actually put some effort into building this expectation among people and so on, but in most cases it doesn't happen. And today, in the next maybe 30-40 minutes, we'll try to start understanding how to get closer to that situation. Maybe people don't have to freeze out at 3 a.m., but still. And I think that the key to this is that our customers, our learners are our customers, right? So we have to think about them as customers. If we want to think as marketers, we need to think like people who have customers. And we have a couple of different kind of customers, which is not uncommon in marketing. So here's a couple of them. So first of all, there are external, right? This is, I would say, the clients, the people that we actually sell to. Well, obviously, these are employees, right? Then there's partners. There's a lot of companies who train partners. I remember working with, how to pronounce them correctly, Systembolaget?
Systembolaget, yeah.
This guy speaks Swedish. So with a company that is a monopoly on trading alcohol in Sweden, so all the alcohol shops belong to the same government company, and they train their partners on all the procedures because otherwise they spend a lot of time and effort on fixing mistakes and so on when it comes to documentation and logistics, delivery, some standards and so on. Then we can actually train clients, right? Is there anyone who actually trains clients? Can you share?
Yeah.
I know that banks do train clients. I remember we did some financial education for Dan Bebb back in the day for a specific clientele of those.
Yeah, we trained, seamen.
Seamen, yes, the sailors who have a lot of money but have very little usage of bank services. So we thought it was a great idea to actually educate them on how to use banks to their benefits, and whoever gets to them first is pretty much the winner in that race. And and then there's competitors, right? Any company that thinks that they are the market leader, how do you prove that to people who work for you, who potentially might work for you, to your clients, that you're a leader? Well, you step out and you say, well, we are the smartest guys here. Let's train everyone.
Yeah. That's pretty much what happens when you compare companies, that those who spend more time on client education, those are usually perceived as being more superior to those who do not do that.
Yes, this is
classic
thing. How do you demonstrate the superiority? You step up front and you say, well, here's what we know.
Yeah,
like we're doing now.
Like we're doing now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is all the people that we have to think about as clients, right? And then there's someone else that we work with pretty much every day, and we call them internal clients, or guys who actually pay us. They are the heads of the departments, like the sales head of sales comes to us and says we need like a better sales training, and our job success and our budget pretty much depends on whether they like it or not, right? There's top management who demand something from us and we can treat them as clients. There's experts, right? Those prima donnas, they have their needs and they have their goals, and unless we think about them as clients, we cannot match those. And then there's finally, that was the experts, right? Right. So the final thought, like if we think about them as by the way, I use movie screenshots sometimes, so you can guess the movie in the comments. So if we think about them as clients, then there's very obvious thought that should come afterwards, and that is, the customer is always right, correct?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, maybe, and customers will do what they want, right? If we want, like. This is like with the top management who make us think about them as customers. They will do what they want. They don't have to be forced into showing up when they need to show up. They don't need to be forced when they have a deadline to meet in training. If they don't think that the training is useful, they don't even have to take it, right? So customers will always do what they want, unlike learners who will do what they are told. Also, one thing, there's no such thing as customer motivation, right? We talk about learner motivation all the time. Like, are they motivated to learn? Like, I've never seen marketing people sit around a table and talk about why aren't they motivated to buy our phones or cars or computers? Like, how do we motivate them? They talk about how do we persuade them? How do we make better phones, or cheaper phones, or sometimes more expensive phones, or how do we promote, advertise, and market those things? They pretty much never talk about motivation.
Yeah, more especially nowadays, they will talk more about lifestyles and your customer journeys, and things that encompass not only, let's talk about cars.
Yes.
Yesterday I actually watched a new video by Alfa Romeo, how they want to reposition their range. And it was very interesting because they were talking not about what kind of car you want, what kind of engine you want. They were talking about lifestyles. That basically in Italy right now, and it's their primary market, car is your safe space. And when there is, this social distancing, actually we have to think about the car as a way how you socially distance yourself. So they're talking on a completely different level. They're not talking about features. They're talking about lifestyles, your journeys, and your experiences.
Yeah, we rarely talk about learners in terms of learner journey or learner experience or lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
They're working, like, what life?
What life?
Yes, and it's actually your problem to solve, right? So it's not their problem that they're not learning. It's your problem to solve. You never see a McDonald's guy who stands like in front of a huge marketing plan and is like these guys have eat more burgers, like. And they aren't motivated, and like this is an entirely new way of thinking. And companies who don't think like that, they tend to go out of business, right? Here's a cartoon of Kodak filing for bankruptcy in front of Canon, Samsung, and Fuji, and Nikon, and everyone else. They were manufacturing same product, but the biggest one of them failed. Why? They weren't following what the clients wanted, and so on. In learning, we sometimes, like I've talked to companies who pretty much declared bankruptcy on their learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were like, they just don't do that. Like, why do we even keep spending all this money?
Yeah, exactly. I've heard a lot of stories of companies who said, okay, we want to implement e-learning. Let's not talk about all of the learning, but e-learning. and we installed, let's say, this Moodle platform, and actually nobody went there. And we closed the project.
Yeah.
So for a marketing person to hear that kind of story, he or she would ask a question: how did you promote it?
Yes.
How did you position it? How did you work with it?
Yeah. Why did you think that they need that in the first place?
Yeah. Did they really know there is something where you could go to?
Yeah. What kind of problem were you trying to solve that was their problem, not your problem, right?
Exactly.
So the first thing that we wanted to share is the very basic model of marketing, and it's called the marketing mix. There are, like with any cocktail, there's different types of mixes. The basic mix is called 4P. There's also 7P, and
in 5Cs.
In my last lecture that I was talking about this marketing mix, someone mentioned like 48P mix, and I went and Googled it. There is such thing as a 48P marketing mix.
But how can you possibly use that, right?
Well, like Google this, it will surprise you. Anyhow, so the 4Ps, the very basic variant is Long Island. Yes. Like everything you find in your fridge, just pour it into the same bottle. All right, so the 4Ps, they actually stand for product, place, promotion, and price. And now we'll spend maybe 15-20 minutes talking about this
in the context
in the context,
learning.
exactly. Yeah. Yes, thank you. All right, so we talk about the product, and product is, so this four P's are four aspects in which you have to think about what you're offering to your audience, and you have to check against certain criteria. And typically you start thinking with the product, like, is this useful at all? And I know, sadly, we don't think about that nearly enough about when we provide something. We know that this training is mandatory. We know this training has been done by someone else. We know that the experts say that the learners, it's always like them, that they need to know that. But how is it useful to your learners, and do they know that it's useful, right? Quality. So when we think about e-learning course, what's quality?
Yeah, if we're thinking about e-learning course and quality, there's of course a lot of aspects to that. Of course, first of all, is its content, what it's in there. Is it quality content per se? Am I, as a learner, opening the slides? Do I believe that it's done by experts and it's really to a high standard? But it goes beyond that.
Is it updated?
Is it updated? Because so many courses on platforms, e-learning courses, or even slides by lecturers in their face-to-face trainings, they contain data that comes from 2-3 years ago, for example. The other aspect I would say is learning experience. Because if you open a course and the course looks outdated,
yes,
just by how you navigate it, how it looks, what kind of colors and fonts it has, it loses credibility during the first 10 seconds.
Or it doesn't work.
Or it doesn't work, because
like,
it's on Flash and nobody cared to update it. And
or you know, it is like you can't figure something out. Like, for example, you're trying to click next, it doesn't go to the next page because you forgot to like check something and so on. This kind of thing. It actually transforms into reliability, right? When we think about products, we think about whether they are reliable, whether they actually do the job that they have to do.
Same goes for any course.
When I go to a platform, which is a product, like this is actually, let's step back. What's a product, right? What are we actually selling? We're not selling courses. We're selling
learning experience.
Learning experience. We're actually solving problem, right? So we say that our product will solve your problem. You cannot deal with angry customers. Here's a course on dealing with angry customers.
Let's take even a very simple compliance example, because me as a, let's say, employee at some company who does not, if I do not comply, I have not passed the course, I cannot do my job.
Right.
Or I will lose the job because I do not comply. I still have a need to comply. So
So you promise that your product will solve that need, that after completing this course I will be able to pass my exam, for example, and be able to actually do my job, right? But in fact, it can turn out that that course will not do that, and that it is easier for me to take the original documents and maybe read through them, or maybe there is a video that one of our colleagues has made and is sharing among us, or maybe there is a classroom session that actually works, and there is this great guy who actually can explain those things. But your e-learning, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like this is the reliability. Do I want to play this lottery of will you buy a car that works like 70% of the time and sometimes it just doesn't start? Well, probably I have. All right, and support. Also, when we talk about product, we talk about support in terms of if there is a problem. Like my favorite example in terms of support is Logitech probably. This is a company that makes computer mice and joysticks, keyboards, stuff like that. So I had a mouse which after 2 years maybe of active usage, and like I used it everywhere at home and in the office, it broke down. I started doing double clicks every time I tried to do a single click, which is super annoying. And I wrote to their support and I said, like, here's the problem with the mouse, and is there a way to actually fix it? Because it was an expensive mouse. It was like 120 euro or something like that. And they said, give us the serial number of the mouse and then send us a photo of you destroying that mouse. I said, like, seriously? Yeah, like smash it to pieces and then take a picture. And I thought, like, okay, maybe that guy is having like the last day at the job and like having fun or something. And they sent me a new one, like entirely new one for free. They replaced it. All they asked me is to make sure that I don't have two mice now. So, and I keep telling, like, it's been like 12 years ago or something. I keep telling this story every time I can, because this is what support means. I've bought a product, it doesn't function the way that I expected it to function. It's not supposed to break down, and they just replaced it. So, like, how can we is there a moral for learning?
Probably yes, because when we are offering learning experience, it is not a single course that we are delivering to the person. There's usually a platform where this course is hosted. There is usually some kind of communication about this course, right? So, and that chain sometimes gets very, very long.
And sometimes it breaks.
And sometimes it breaks. And the question is, how fast can you repair this chain for me? Yeah, not talking about the quality of the product, just that I'm not sitting there and waiting for my course for another 2 weeks because nobody could figure out why am I not assigned this course, but my boss says you have to pass it, otherwise you don't get the exam and so on. So this is a classic support thing. And nowadays, when everything went online, support is a critical issue. And we measure different platforms, different products by the level of support you get.
Here's an example. If you go to any website today, any website that actually tries to sell you something, you will find this little chat icon in the corner, which pops up and says, are you having a problem after like spending 5 minutes? Like, how can we help? You're obviously interested in us because you're not here by mistake. You've spent all of 5 seconds on our website. How can we help? Talk to us. Like, can we have that in the learning environment? Like, do we have, or can we ask for resources to do that? Like, do we even know that they, like, in many cases, we don't know if they need it. Our learners are used to suffering. They will not even tell us that, this would be great. They don't even think about this in that sense themselves. Right, and some things to move us along that we've already mentioned. It's like the assortment. If I choose a brand of a car, for example, right, or a phone, and I trust this brand, and you've spent a lot of effort in building my trust. I want this brand to solve all my problems, right? So I trust, Volkswagen, for example, right? So I will buy a Volkswagen for myself, and then I'd rather buy another one for my wife, but she needs different type of car, right? So she has different needs, different preferences, and if that brand doesn't offer it, well,
you go elsewhere.
Yeah, I go elsewhere, and then maybe next time I will buy my car with them as well, and so I will just switch brands. And all that effort that you've spent on luring me in is gone. Same thing, with phones, with computers, with clothing, for example, and so like I like you like Nike, for example, right? And you trust them, there's quality and everything, and you buy Nike sportswear for the summer, but then in winter they don't offer anything, and you're like, okay, now I have to start thinking about the different brand, and I will switch, and so on.
And same goes for the learning platform. You go there, you only find their compliance courses, and you don't find anything on your personal development. And then you switch to YouTube or any other platform you can use for your development, and you will continue using it also for those things where actually the quality of the in-house product might be higher, but you don't know that. You don't trust them anymore.
Yeah.
So assortment is very, very important in learning. And
so wave your hands in, like, I like it. I used to say that put a plus in the chat and so on, but now I can see everyone. So wave your hands if you think that this is useful, and this way of thinking is, Oksana is just waving hands when I say wave hands. All right, so let's move on to another aspect, and this is promotion. This is what we typically associate with
marketing, yeah,
right?
in a narrow way.
And the number one is, of course, advertising. And here's a simple question: how do we advertise our courses? Okay, there is a new course on whatever on our platform, and our corporate employees now have access to it, and it's been assigned to them. Like, how do they know about it? Like, typically, what do? You can actually share a few ways in chat. What the most popular thing is that I think they have to go into the platform.
They get an email. Yeah, nowadays.
Okay, they get an email.
Nowadays it's a bit. Yeah, they get an email. There is a new course.
Yeah, how much emails do you get per day? Right? How much time can you spend per email? And what is one thing that always gets me, those automated emails that LMS sends out, they never have something that marketers call to action, CTA. So they never tell you what to do. If you get a marketing email, it tells you in a big red button, subscribe now. Go and the emails that you got for this breakfast, it had this link to go and register. Like a lot of LMS emails are like this bland emails that say, okay, you have been assigned to a new course. Yeah. What do I do? Do I have to remember the address of our learning platform now? Do I have to go there, log in, start Googling for that course, which name I've already forgotten by that time? What are the chances that I will even get to there, right? So imagine somebody trying to sell something you online just tells you like, we have this thing available. Like you get an email from an online shop that we know that you've bought shoes from us, right? So here's the new type of shoes that you might like it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, fortunately,
we have that.
Yeah. Fortunately, some platforms do have that button or that direct link to the training nowadays. Yeah. But it doesn't mean there is a call to action, because call to action, there is a call.
Yes.
There is, so
it has to tell you.
Yeah. Typically, there is a message saying, you know what, nowadays it's very important to, for example, be able to work remotely, and the call to action is be more productive working at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of there is a
button.
promise, because call to action has to be a promise.
Yeah.
It has to promise that it will solve your problem.
Yeah. Like click here to have less stress when working from home.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Exactly. So
another way is word of mouth and referrals, right? We think that this is some sort of force of nature, right? Sometimes people talk about your courses, sometimes they don't. Like, who watches YouTube? Wave hands. Like, do you have a favorite YouTuber?
Of course.
What do they tell you every time? Sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end, but every time they will tell you, like, share, subscribe, press that bell icon to get notified. This is what every YouTuber who is worth their salt will tell you, because you know, they want you to not to just watch it, they want you to work for them and you know, do something for them. So there's the call to action, and there's the word of mouth, like share it, like you like it, share it. You think this is useful, tell your friends. Do we have that in learning? Like when you get to the last slide and you really like that course and you're like, yeah, that was actually useful, and you're like, yeah, close it.
Yeah, exactly. No, so of course there's a technological constraint to it, but more and more platforms do have this share function, to be honest. But it doesn't stop there. And I think that the most important thing here, talking about the word of mouth and referrals, is to think outside of your LMS as well. And we have brilliant examples of people talking, what we call it coffee machine talk. When
like Americans call it the
cooler talk. Yeah, right? Cooler talk.
We don't use coolers nearly as often, but we use a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And actually, you should plan for it. And it goes back a little bit to the quality of the product and to the promise and to the fulfillment of the needs. Yeah. Because if the product does not solve their needs, you will not get any coffee machine referrals.
Well, you can get some coffee machine talk, but that is not the kind of word of mouth that you want. This will not refer anyone there.
So here,
you don't need like technology to do that. Like, in the last slide of your course, or you know, in the middle of your course, or anywhere, just write, you like this course, tell a colleague. You found it useful, tell us at least, like you'll know, tell others. And that you don't need much. Like if you're doing video training, like think as YouTubers, tell, like do you like eBreakfast? Tell your colleagues. Like share on Facebook, say that, you know, I've been to INTEA breakfast, it was, you know, fun. Hopefully. Right. So then what we've already touched upon is building a brand and reputation. One thing that I, as someone who works in production of courses, that I really hate is the fact that every new course looks different. Like even within the corporate branding and so on, we always try to make every course, you know, not look the same. And in fact, if I know, do I have that slide? Yeah, I have that. Like this is my favorite illustration. Who reads Dan Brown? You don't have to be shy about it. Like,
you know, it's somebody everybody does, but never admits.
Like we've all been on a vacation. We've all had that, you know,
moment where you don't want to read Dostoevsky, so it's fine.
All right. So out of this 6 books, I think I've read 2, The Angels. Anyhow, so what I'm trying to illustrate here is that no one cares about the content of this book, right? Everyone cares that it's Dan Brown's book, and when you pick up a Dan Brown's book, you know what to expect. When you Stephen King is another example, right?
Yeah.
You take a Stephen King's book, and you know 99% of the time you know what you will get, and you know that you want it, and you get it, and that's it. You don't need to know the name, and no one refers to Stephen King's books by names. It's like, have you read the last one? Yeah, I've read the last one. Something like that. Every author is trying to build the author brand, not sell you the content of a specific book. We don't do that nearly enough with courses, because we can build author brands, and you know, even if we don't want to promote specific experts for a lot of reasons, we can promote us as the learning people. This is what I'm trying to actually instill in INTEA, which we don't do nearly enough, is to put the powered by INTEA onto every course, because people actually can tell our courses from other courses, right? And they will be like, yeah, INTEA course, I remember that.
Last one was good. This one is good.
Yeah, and you know, they will already, you know, meet it with less skepticism than otherwise. So are you doing that? Like, are you doing this? Like, you can do a series of you know, if you think that the success of your previous course was that it was very short and practical, you know, build a short and practical course series, put short and practical on the front, and everyone who opens a course, yeah, this is from the short and practical series, and then experts will be like, hey, can I get into a short and practical series? And you will be like, yeah, all you need to do is to be short and practical.
Which you're not, so sorry.
Yeah.
But no, some companies do that in a bit less, what is it, expressive form. But when they say, okay, we will have this sales academy, or we will have this management academy, so this is the kind of the way
to building a brand.
To step to building a brand, but very often it's not consistent, because one thing you have to be very careful about it is that the quality is consistent.
Yes.
And actually, all of the marketing research shows that even if people are used to certain level of quality and then it spikes and goes back, it creates very bad results in the end, because people don't, if a person buys, let's say, a Volkswagen, they are not buying a Lamborghini, so they are already expecting something. So you have to be consistent throughout the range, throughout the products, throughout what you're offering. So here again, sometimes I see that companies call it management academy, but then the quality goes up and down, and the speakers, for example, who come and do that management academy talk, they are not briefed beforehand, and everybody has different style of their presentation, slides, how they start, how they end, how long is the lecture, and it doesn't create a brand, because it's a mix of things.
In other words, a brand is not a name, right?
Yeah, it's not a name.
It's not. It's actually in fact, there is an 8-hour version of this not the presentation. It's actually a hands-on workshop. But in there, I actually talk about building a brand, and there is 6 pillars to a brand and whatnot. But definitely that is not a name is one of them. Definitely, right? Like people will not know that this is a brand until it has a name, right? You have to tell them, yes, this is a brand, but then you have to actually follow up on that and follow through over the rest. What else? Push marketing, right? So I open my phone, and there's an update. There's an update from Facebook that hey, go and read that. There is an update from Netflix that we've created something for you. There's an update from YouTube that your favorite YouTuber has. Like, we don't use that nearly enough. Like we can actually get closer to people in more ways than just emails. So this is one thing I wanted to remember. And then there's retargeting. So retargeting is a very much marketing term, but it's actually a simple thing that everyone has seen. Have you been to a website that sells shoes and then you see shoe adverts everywhere?
Oh yeah.
What really gets me is that you go in, you buy the shoes, and then
they still market it.
Yes, but this is what's called retargeting. So you, Oksana says, "Lucky if those are shoes." All right, so we know Oksana's family shares the same computer, right?
Yeah.
All right, so. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of technology that goes into that. It's all readily available, and basically, if people go into your learning platform, you can actually follow them up on other media, on Facebook. Like, hey, remember you were at our learning platform? There's a lot of good stuff in there. Or remember you visited the course on time management? That there is also a work-life balance course that's available, and so on. Or course on time management, because you probably haven't started that one.
We don't even need to use all that technology, because sometimes it crashes against our IT security and everything right there. But how many courses have something on their last slide, which you'll always have in a Dan Brown's book, saying what other Dan Brown's book exists there?
Yes, that is absolutely. Yeah, I actually haven't thought about it.
But you can always promote other courses within these courses and create this chain reaction, which we rarely do, to be honest.
Yes, the previous courses, the next courses, all that stuff. All right, so hopefully that was useful, and then this is changing your ways of thinking about your offering. And then there's price. Now, Do you have a price? Like wave your hand if your course has a price. Let me flip through those people. Yeah, Oksana's courses.
Yeah, our INTEA courses do have a price, but if it's an internal course, it gets more complicated.
It is more complicated, but one thing that we know that we actually contribute to learning is our time, right? So every time that you know I spend something for a course, you know, I can be working, I can be having a break. If I'm learning at home, I can be watching something, you know, spending time with kids and so on. So you know, there's time, there's opportunity cost of that time, and that for a lot of people can be higher than actually money. And this is why our supposedly free courses, you know, not just free, you know, we offer a lot of, you know, very cool things with that. When we send top management to retreats and so on, we spend a lot of that, and they get a lot of value in terms of, you know, nice breakfasts and whatnot. But they still don't want to go because actually their time is more expensive than that. So this is the price that people are paying. And when we start thinking about this price, what do marketers think about price? Right. So attention, yes, this is another one. Like the energy that we spend on a course, you know, I would rather like focus on my job that I'm doing than
yeah, it's
switch
more important than
so on.
the course.
Yes. The opportunity, right? We compete for something, but then the question, like one thing that when we find that the price is a problem for our courses, what companies offer? The companies offer in terms of marketing. They say, okay, you can actually pay in 7 easy payments, no problem. They offer you leasing. They offer you all sorts of incentives not to pay all that cost up front. They can say, sometimes they say, okay, you take that, try it for a month. Like if we look at online products, you try it for a month, and then you decide if you want to pay and so on. So how can we apply this to learning? Well, the obvious thing is to actually split it into smaller pieces. Like, can your learners actually take this training in smaller pieces? And that is not always true. Like if I have to open a course which is video based and I have to find where I stopped every time because it doesn't remember that, like YouTube, I will just abandon it. It doesn't, it kind of, it's trying to, it's not offering me this leasing option, right? If it's a course that's built by chapter, but if I abandon it, I have to start from the beginning and at least click through all those chapters again, you know, that's not solving it for me. If it's a face-to-face learning event where I have to devote a whole day to it, where I don't have a day, again, this becomes too pricey for me. So you have to think about ways to split that price into smaller chunks, for example, or just optimize the cost, right? Every marketer is constantly nagging on production to make it you know, make it the same but cheaper.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And a good advice or a way to work with it would be to start by saying what kind of price tag does a course or a lecture has. Is it 60-minute cost? Is it 30-minute cost? And then you think of what can we squeeze into it.
Yeah, otherwise it's like going into a restaurant and you don't know the price level.
Yeah, so
put the menu outside.
Put the menu outside, exactly. And I think it's very important both from the perspective of the promise to the learner. He sees 30 minutes and he spends 30 minutes on the course and he's able to finish it. Because sometimes it says 30 minutes, but we all know it's actually an hour. But we are lying. Cheating in marketing is very bad because you only have one chance to cheat, and then
we're back to the brand.
Exactly. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect is it will keep the experts or the lecturers in line, because then they will be pressured to really emphasize the most important things. Yeah. Because if you allow somebody who is teaching you something to do it for as long as they want, probably they will go overboard.
So so what happens in non-learning companies who are marketing products? The marketers survey the market, and find out that there is a niche for very cheap phones, for example, right? 50 euro phones, no one is offering that. Let's start offering that, and people actually need that because no one has money for expensive phones except rich people, and they already have phones and so on.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So they will come to the production department and will say, we need to make a phone that will cost $25 in the making, so that we can actually put on some profit margins and so on, and still fit into this price range. What happens in learning is that the production comes to you and says, look, we've created this great phone, it costs this much, go ahead and sell it. And you're like, people will not buy, it's too expensive. And you start solving this problem instead of not having that problem in the first case by driving that conversation. You have to come to the expert and tell them, look, our people will not respond to anything beyond 10 minutes on a video.
Exactly.
Like I understand that you have a lot of valuable information, but that is the limitation.
Exactly, because there is no such amount of promotion
that will make up
that
for
will
it.
make it up for it, or it will be so expensive that it will not make sense anymore.
Yeah, it's all about the balancing those four P's, right? So if something is out of balance, you can't try and make up for it in other aspects and so on. Yeah, then another thing is discounts and gifts, right? So when we think that something is expensive, we can always provide a discount, or we can provide a cheaper version, or we can provide like a gift on top of that. So if your course, yes, it's it's maybe costly, I have to put out some time for that, but then give me a gift, give me like a checklist at the end that I can carry with me, and then come back to that course, and just every time I think that we have those kind of tools in some of our stress management courses that we built, where you can actually get a list of tips that you can apply randomly whenever you feel stressed, and then it's a deck of cards actually. You pull out one and you see a new tip.
That's a gift, but I have an example of a discount. The word of the year in learning for me in 2019 was to test out.
Yes.
To test somebody out. So if there is a course, and it's very important to check the level of knowledge, but you kind of feel that the person might already have it, you can tell them, you passed the test. We will not check if you have gone to that course, just pass the test, and we know that you comply, which is a good thing for some of the compliance situations where you just have to prove the knowledge, not the fact that the person spent 8 hours learning something which sometimes is in the law and becomes a problem because then it becomes too expensive. So testing out is a very good way to give a discount, saying test is 5 minutes, course is 30 minutes. So basically it's a 70% discount.
Yeah, it's a 70% discount. If you do know that. If you don't know that, go ahead.
The test will show you. The test will show you. So you will always be able to, if you do not use the discount, go ahead.
Okay.
Promotion, right? The last fee.
Yeah.
Or place. Yeah.
You're ruining my flow. So place. In terms of marketing, like in classic marketing, we talk about place. Well, they started talking about as a physical place where you actually sell stuff, but then it went on to basically the way how the product or the service gets to you. So right. The great thing about this model is that you can grab one component and try to revolutionize that. For example, so I'm actually in parallel, I was writing a blog about that, and I had this great example that I forgot. Jesus. Okay, I will look it up. But one example is, for example, door-to-door sales, right? So you used to go to a shop to
buy a vacuum cleaner.
Right?
Yeah.
Now they knock on your door and they say, okay, the vacuum cleaner has come to you. Right? So you go ahead and you try that, you want to buy it, like you don't have to actually make this effort and climb up that energy threshold onto actually going to, you don't have to spend the money to force me to go to the store. You can actually spend the money to make the store come to me, right? And anything, mail orders work similarly. Any online courses, again, So like what happened just now, we have a company called DCH Studio. It's a gym basically located in our building, and half of our employees go there. I'm in the other half, and
Yeah.
and he goes. So they were closed, like they can't operate. So they had to either say that, there is no place for us, we stop, or we have to find a different place. And of course, they moved online. I think they were one of the first.
Well, they
companies
did
that
it
moved
overnight.
online.
Okay, they called us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny.
But,
How I know that? Yes, we spent an evening, ideating how that can be done, like literally overnight, and they've done it overnight, and now they keep improving. And in the ways that it goes, I think a lot of people will like that. So I know people who say, well, I actually started doing more sports because I don't have to go through the pain of actually going there out in the rain and the cold and so on. I can do it from especially like things like yoga, for example. You can do it at home easily if you have that same guidance, and then you actually understand what the product is, like where the usefulness lies, what you can cut off and so on, and you can play with the place to revolutionize that. And one of the largest gym networks in Latvia is still closed, and they're like keep losing money, and they're not offering anything because they couldn't figure it out, or by some other reason we're not able to do that. So access. How do you access your courses or your training in general? Is it convenient? Like, can you do it offline, for example? Can you do it on a slow connection?
Can you do it from home? Let's be honest, people are so busy at work that not allowing them to go there outside of your workplace, which now, of course, is became a problem for some companies because people had to shift to their home computers and they have no access to certain things, among them also learning. So that's...
Do you want funny thing? So I learned about a company that has a procedure for price competitions when potential vendors, they all submit envelopes, like physical envelopes to the company, and then it's written in the statutes that they have to come together and open those envelopes all at once. And now they can't do that. And they have stuck with certain purchasing things. And I know this from one of the vendors that, the purchasing has stopped because they don't have procedure for that. And this is like literally a place thing. But in terms of learning, it actually interacts with the price a little bit. So like who does have, like, wave your hands if you don't count your traffic on your phone, right? You don't care if you open YouTube or Spotify or anything like that. You don't care. Like most of us, like if we don't think about our learners as our clients, we might miss the fact that a lot of them do count. Like if they're younger people or with lower wages, or just people with lower wages, they might have this 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabyte connection, and then you say, okay, you can watch this on your phone, and we have built all of that, so you can watch your courses on mobile, and you have to go through this training, but then it becomes like literally expensive because they will now have to think like, do I want to like take this opportunity now to learn, or do I want to save traffic for important things like Facebook and Instagram and so on, and Spotify and YouTube? But this is about competition as well, and I will wait until I'm at work where I have the free Wi-Fi to actually do that, and if I remember about this at that moment. So it's about access and convenience in place, and you have to think about that aspect. About offline as well. Do you have to be online all the time? Like I subscribe to Masterclass. Masterclass.com is a great learning platform. Sounds like an advert for Masterclass.
Yeah, but they are very good. They're
very good. They're a collection of video tutorials from very, very famous people. So there is like Martin Scorsese, who teaches filmmaking, and there is Armin van Buuren, who teaches electronic music, and they take the celebrity in the field, and there is Neil Gaiman, who teaches storytelling, like probably the greatest storyteller of our century. So it's really great. It costs like $200 per year or something like that, but really great. One problem that they have is that they only work online. I cannot download them. So, and I do a lot of watching on planes, or I used to. And with with that, I had to go to a pirate website and download recordings of all those videos, despite the fact that I've paid for them. And now I was forced to do that because it's more convenient. And someone else will think about it and say, okay, well, why don't I do that in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to watch it offline, I had to pirate it. So that's the way of thinking about learning. We assume everyone is always online and it's free for them, but it's not true. Another thing is search and navigation. And if I can't find something, or conversely, I find too much of something. Like, remember, we went to a company with Oksana recently, and they said, okay, we have this great LMS that was provided to us by our headquarters in Europe. And it has 80,000 courses. And we said, okay, like, show what you have on negotiations. They type in negotiations, and there's like 400 courses on negotiations.
Yeah.
Which doesn't tell me anything. Like, some of them look like they've been recorded in the 1970s. They might be very useful though.
But as a product, they fail.
Yeah,
they don't like.
And they don't give me any tools to actually find what I'm looking for, and it's too broad. It does, like, if you go to Amazon, it actually helps you buy stuff because it tells you, like, people buy this with that. LMSs rarely do that. And one thing that always gets me is that when I come and search on a website that's trying to sell something to me and I don't find it, they will always have alternatives. They will say, okay, you haven't found this one, check out this great deals, or check out this catalog, or it seems like you were searching for a guitar that we don't have. Well, there are all the other guitars that we do have. LMSs don't do that, and one thing they don't do is they never tell you what people are looking for if they don't find it, right? So if I work at a bank and customers come to me and ask me about Bitcoin, they're like, yeah, there's this thing that I heard on the news. It's Bitcoin. It seems to be growing and falling and then growing again. Should I invest? And I don't have an answer as an employee. I will go to the LMS and Google for we even use Google, and search for Bitcoin. And the LMS doesn't have anything. Now, you as learning managers will not know that someone is looking for, and if people are looking 50 times a day for something and they are not finding it, maybe it's a virus, maybe it's a mask, maybe it's a time of work, maybe it's a regulation, maybe it's a competing product, and they don't find it, then what happens is that they actually get frustrated and go somewhere else, and you don't know about it. You wait until someone tells their manager, and the manager tells you at some point, and you put it into plan and so on. Whereas you could be using like Twitter type of marketing and look for trends, what people are looking for, and so on.
Yeah, but overall, there's a comment. What about the learning experience? This is the thing, that all of what Sergey is saying is actually learning experience, and the place, as we call it in 4P model, we should think about it as a learning experience. So where, how am I purchasing this product or using this product, right?
Right.
And this is all comes together. Yeah, and very often actually kind of you think about the product first and the place last, but actually the place can kill it.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, I hope this 4 aspects of thinking about your product or service or what you're offering in
learning,
in learning mostly is new or fresh at least, and you will change your thinking and help your colleagues and management change their thinking about how you interact with learners. And what I wanted to leave you with is that sales actually and marketing, they actually do make the world go round. This is a poster from Casablanca from middle of last century, and it's already trying to sell you. Think of it as your learning cover. And it doesn't just tell you, what's inside and so on. It also tells you, this is an award winner. This is an award-winning course. It must be good. You might not know who are those guys, although they obviously are big brands. The Bogart and Bergman, they are big brands. So you don't really care what the movie is about. You really care that those two are in it. Must be good. And you say it actually won an award, and you're actually selling it before you people even start interacting with that, and that is only getting worse. This is an example from La La Land I will leave you with, where no one even cares like who's and what. Like it just tells you that everyone loved it.
Yeah.
So try and think about ways to approach your learning offering in similar ways. We have a lot in store. If you found this useful, we have even, like I will tell you a secret, there's like 7 more slides to this presentation, but we ran out of time. So there are more models that we can talk about that help learners think like marketers and move away from talking about they must and they need, but talk about what they want, what their lifestyle is, what their needs are, how their time is structured, and so on, which will help your learning uptake and will help you outcompete Netflix and work reports and all other things that you compete with when it comes to learners' time, energy, and attention.
Yeah.
Hope that was useful. If that was, tell others. Come next time. Stay tuned for our emails. Suggest topics. We will definitely talk about more marketing, but also suggest other stuff. And thank you for joining. We really wish you a great weekend. The weather is nice, and the
restrictions are going down, but not this weekend yet in Latvia.
But it's easing up. So enjoy your time. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.
Bye bye.